right. Happy Tuesday morning. It is January 21st. And this LinkedIn Live, I'm going to share with you what I discovered. This was quite a few years ago, actually, what a PR strategy could look like. In other words, if you want to grow both your personal brand as well as your company brand from unknown to known by being featured in publications that are reputable, this could help you and your business become both more confident in your sales activities and then also garner some press that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Now, traditionally, when you look at PR, it used to be really difficult because there were gatekeepers, and those gatekeepers would either decide what gets printed in certain media, because there's only finite media way back in the day before the web was ubiquitously available to all of us. And then also, just to get to those reporters, you need either a relationship or you need some kind of agency to help you liaise that relationship. Now, what I've discovered is that we have all of this online need for content. In other words, we're no longer relegated to our physical presence in a magazine, newspapers, that kind of stuff. And when we have unlimited digital content available, those who publish digital content have tremendous needs from people like you. And what I mean by this is, more often than not, if you are a content writer for an online publication or any other publication, really doesn't matter what, but specifically an online publication where you have a lot of need, your editor will task you to write things that you might not be so well versed in yet. Like, let's say you're a technology reporter and your editor said you should really do an article on cryptocurrency, and you have to go and do your research and figure out if what it is you want to say and how you say it, etc. But then before you go to press, more often than not, you want to validate what it is that you are saying with somebody who is a perceived expert in that space. And there's this service that I found that's free, actually, that I'd ask you to consider. But let's actually talk first about how I implemented it and the goals for it, and then you can see if it makes sense for you. Now, just like everything else that I talk about, I'm not qualified to talk to you about what you might consider doing unless I do it myself first. And that's what I'm just going to distill down for you as something that you can take and run with based on the strategy that I've done. So let's talk about this a little bit and go over to this other screen. And there we go. All right. So just from a proof of concept standpoint, I just want to show you that this is the first time that I was featured in Forbes. This was February 17th of 2016. And the way that I got to know this reporter was by responding to a query that she had put out on this service that I'm going to talk to you about. And once I had that relationship formed with her, this is where then we went back and forth, and she eventually found something that could make sense to talk about to her audience on Forbes. So here's this article, is all about me, which is really awesome, and there's a picture of me, and it goes through my idea of what I developed with our rock band and what people could maybe consider doing that way as well when it comes to how they can get better known in a space by simply going where a need already exists and then making themselves valuable. So that's that proof of concept that I want to share with you first. And then this is the piece that I want you to look at when it comes to how you implement this strategy. And this is called Help a Reporter Out. And I said this is free, and all you do is you sign up here at helpareporter.com and you put I'm a source. And once you go through this process, you can then say, who you are, etc. So you register, and then they'll send you emails every single business day. So see where it says here, check your inbox 3 times daily. And then look for source requests relevant to you or your client's industry. So in English, what that means is those reporters that we had mentioned who are on deadline, who are writing something, again, before they go public with what it is that they're writing, they want to validate somebody like you by way of saying, this is what this expert in this space says about what I, as a reporter, has stated. Okay? And again, what I did, just to, again, give a quick proof of concept, this is when I started this. It was way back in July of 2015. And I did a lot of this at first just to kind of riff on my thoughts about how I go about this mechanically. And then I made a documentation. I documented effectively what I did and then showed here what successful outcomes I had. So I went through and documented all of these responses that I did over time and then where I ended up getting featured. And these features all ended up online, and then I use this as a jumping off point. So just to show that I've done a lot of work in this space, and what I ask you to consider as well is doing the same thing, okay? So here's what it looks like then. Once you sign up for Help a Reporter Out, this is a sample of an email that you'll get, and this is the one just from this morning. And you can see that it's broken down. If you don't specify to Help a Reporter Out that you want it to parse the data on your behalf, it'll just send you all of the queries. So these are all classified by way of a specific industry or a specific generality, like education or whatever. But if we go through and see, we're going to see that there are about 39 queries from reporters. And this is really important to think about because this is the news before it happens. Okay, this is where these reporters are writing things and they want to validate what it is that you say. So if I scroll through here, what I'm going to ask you to consider is just look at stuff where you go, yeah, you know what, I could probably answer that. And I can answer that very succinctly because what these reporters look for from you is a paragraph, maybe even just a couple sentences with the reasons why they should quote you. Okay, so what I'd ask you to consider when you are responding to these queries, all you do, let's just grab this one. So therapists and psychologists, MDs and PhDs, specifically for this publication called Pop Sugar, you're going to see that Caitlin here is writing an article about psychedelic therapy. It's featured in Gwyneth Paltrow's new Netflix show, blah, 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 blah. So what she's looking for is therapists and psychologists with knowledge about psychedelic therapy, how it works, and then safety concerns. Okay, and she says, please note I have a hard deadline of Thursday a.m., so all answers will be needed by Wednesday. Now this is going to be a theme that you see as you start walking through these queries, is that people typically are on very short deadlines. And if you scan this and you see, instantly, I can answer this because I know it, that's the opportune time to do it. So don't wait for their deadline that they tell you. If you know it, just respond right away. And the way that you respond then is you hit this button and it'll open your email, whether you're on Outlook or Gmail like I am right now, and it'll open the window by which you start writing. And what I'd like you to have you do is first write your bona fides. So say, in my case, I'd say I'm Spencer Nick Smith. I run a social media consulting company called Amplify in Madison, Wisconsin. And I used to be a VP of sales for 2 Fortune 100 companies. That's my opening, right? So people go, oh, this guy is actually legitimate, as opposed to somebody who might just be riffing on stuff. And then you answer the reporter's query, again, concisely. And then at the end, you would say, here's how to get a hold of me if you have any more questions, and here are links to my website, my personal website, my business website, my LinkedIn page, etc. And if you start to do this on a mechanical basis, once a day and see how it feels, I think what you're going to understand is you're going to see here a lot of very overt needs from reporters where they're coming to you, not specifically you, but you in a broad sense, and saying, this is what I need from somebody, can you answer this for me? And you're going to see there's a lot of really reputable organizations, and this is how I've gotten in Forbes and Inc. and Entrepreneur and a bunch of other ones. And if you start to answer these questions, like the Wall Street Journal here, this is a great one for those who are watching in New York right now, who are up early with me, is that you can see that they're looking for, the Wall Street Journal, this reporter is looking for New Yorkers who have managed to orchestrate a super productive commute. What are you doing? And then you could be featured in the Metro section of the Journal, right? So how cool would it be to be featured in the Journal to other New Yorkers and point out to them, hey, I was in the Journal and this is something worth mentioning. So again, what I'd ask you to consider is each day, subscribe to Haro because it's free, and then choose one of those 3 emails to look at. So don't take on too much at first, right? Either choose the morning email, the afternoon email, the evening email. Open it up, scan this really quickly, and then say, is there anything that I see here that I'm going to be able to answer just really quickly, and then get it out the door. And this is going to be important for 2 big reasons. The first is that you're going to garner some press that you simply didn't have otherwise, and it was free, right? Which is fantastic, because then you can say that you've been featured in this and this and this and this, and when you're sharing things on social media, you can say I was honored to be quoted in this publication, et cetera, et cetera. But I think equally as importantly, when you scan something like this, what this does is it elicits a response from you of something that you knew but you just haven't written down yet. So oftentimes it's going to take somebody like a reporter asking you a question to go, hey, do you know this? And you go, yeah, I guess I do know it. I just haven't actually taken the time to type it or take it, extract it from my brain, if you will. And what's really important about that is, like, if I go through my entire list of responses, which is now numbers in the thousands of responses, I can look back at that stuff and go, you know what, I kind of forgot that I wrote that. Like I forgot that this was a question, this is how I answered it, and now this can be turned into something, right? So that could be the next blog post that I write for a magazine, or it could be something that I put out on social media, or whatever it might be. So it really forces you, if you will, to take that thing from your brain and to put it onto paper, not literal paper, but you know what I mean. So we actually get it in electronic form, so we can take a look and see what it is that people want from you, and then distill it down to a form that makes sense. So I know this was an early one, especially for those on the West Coast, but I want to get this out the door right away since it's kind of a busy day with meetings. But please take a look at Haro. And in the comments here, especially if you're watching on replay, let me know what you think. And let me know if you've actually taken a look at Haro before, if you've tried something like this, because when I bring this up with people, one of two things happens. Either they go, I had no idea that this existed, and this is phenomenal because you can tell me I can get a free PR, which is awesome. And then number two, people go, yeah, you know what, I've heard of this, and then I got excited because Spence, you told me about it, and then I just didn't follow through. And if you start doing this on a regular basis, I think you're going to be surprised in the upside with how many mentions that you get. So I'm going to leave you with this, okay? Oftentimes we talk about SEO or search engine optimization with our clients, and SEO is pretty complex, but if it boils down into two things, the first is if it's not on your website, it doesn't exist, meaning Google and the other search engines aren't good at inferences. They don't know what you know. You need to state it explicitly. And then how many other sites are linking to yours? And what happens when you start to get mentions in press, they'll start to link to your website, and that garners you more SEO juice, so to speak. So give this a shot. Let me know in the comments, or just send me a direct message if you like, and see if you have any thoughts or questions for the good of the group. And I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.